Good evening. It is Wednesday, December 6th, 2023, and coming to you from Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Even when it's pouring down rain and there's flood warning, the crowd is still here.
So, do you guys have a flood warning?
Yeah, we've been under a flood warning. We're under a flood warning through tomorrow. It's been raining since like Thursday. So
interesting.
Yeah, on and off. Today hasn't been too bad, but it's supposed to let up a bit tomorrow. But it has been quote unquote atmospheric river and all that.
All that jazz.
Yeah, you know, they always make up a name. I never heard that name until, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, right? And I've been around a couple days, but all of a sudden there's this term, atmospheric river. All of a sudden, 5 to 10 years ago, we started naming winter storms. Why did we do that? We didn't do that before. But all of a sudden, winter storm, Bob. Okay, great. Why? Why does it need a name? I mean, is that so
2012 was the first year they started doing it.
Yeah. Why did we all of a sudden need to start naming winter storms? That doesn't make any sense to me. But these terminology, I'm sure atmospheric river's been out there forever. I just never heard it.
The system is based on the idea that naming winter storms will increase awareness and help communication about potentially dangerous weather events. Oh, that's fair. If everyone in your neighborhood is going, oh, Ida's coming, we better watch out, buckle down, Ida's coming, versus Storm XY33, 21. Like, no one remembers that. So I guess it's just about familiarizing yourself with it.
In the end, when you're old like me, you're not going to look back and go, oh, yeah, I remember Frank. Frank was a big one. You're going to say, I remember the winter of 23.
Well, do you remember? Well, you remember hurricanes that way.
Well, because they've been naming them that way, and I've been doing it forever. And maybe some people now, but when you're old like me, you won't remember. What about the one in 2011?
Which one in 2011?
Exactly, because they're not named. That's what I'm getting at. They didn't start naming them until 2012. So 2011.
They've only been naming hurricanes since 53.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's older than me.
That was when the National Hurricane Center decided to start doing it, because they found, for the exact same reason, that people were not paying attention.
Well, and I'm not sure that you're going to pay attention more. Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe do you pay attention more? Would you pay attention more if the weather service in Denver said, "Hey, there is a winter storm coming and it's going to be bad on Friday"? Or would you be more likely to pay attention and say, "Winter storm Giovanni is coming on Friday"? Does that make you more or less interested?
I'm a smart man. So I'm paying attention to this crap regardless.
Was there air quotes in that? Because I just want
to... You can put them in there if you want. All right. When this dictates to paper, you can put air quotes in there. Sure. Okay. But I do think it's easier. Like, I remember like Andrew and Floyd and Wilma and Dennis. I remember these names, and I remember them because of their names.
Well, no.
I remember one of them because we were there, right?
Let's back up. You remember them because of their severity. You don't remember every category.
True. I remember them because of their severity. That's also fair. Katrina's an obvious one. Like, if it just missed everything, you wouldn't remember it. But that's how it is anyway. So
that's true.
Well, we don't name tornadoes, do we?
Well, they happen too fast, and you don't know where they're coming.
And then they go away, and then they come back, and then
because you literally have to have guys on street corners yelling "Frank" all of a sudden, because it just happens like that.
Well, then I guess that there's only two things that develop the way they do, and those are winter storms and hurricanes.
Yeah, but a winter...
So then it makes sense that they're both kind of named.
A hurricane is likely to pick up your house and move you across the country.
Winter storm is like to shut off power.
Yeah, but it's not like...
You'll freeze to death.
I get it. But usually where winter storms happen, people are experiencing winter weather already. So
do you think they try hard to not have them be like any sort of ethnically inclined name?
No, they do it. They have them.
I know, But like what I mean is like let's say you started naming heat waves. You named it like Heat Wave Guillermo. You'd be like, that seems kind of racist.
So 2024's hurricanes start with Alberto.
Ooh.
Ernesto's in there.
Nice.
There's some weird names.
Or there was a
though.
Gustav
Raphael's
sometimes ago.
Raphael's in there. But you
Well,
also
that's just because they ran out of generic white names to use.
Well,
like
Beryl?
by the mid 2000s, they need help.
How about these names? Beryl, Beryl, the girl's name.
Oh.
Francine, which is awesome for American Dad folks. Helene, Joyce, Leslie, Nadine, and they alternate. So it's boy girl boy girl boy girl. So they're not to be
There's a lot of like systemically white European names in there.
There are, but in 2023
with the occasional flair.
2023 had Katya, Idalia, Ophelia.
Well, I know there was an Ivan back in the day.
Yeah, it was Hurricane
some time ago. So yeah. I mean, they definitely dip into the Russian thing.
It's okay if they're communist. You can use the. I don't know how it works. I don't know what the criteria is. It's awesome.
Do you think that this is government propaganda to create consistent distrust of Russians and
absolutely.
things like that? Like
I would.
It's just slow interjecting like, oh, do you remember when Ivan rolled through, or when Olaf rolled through, or when Gustav came? Yeah,
well, Gustav is German, so
Gustav is
German. You shouldn't be afraid of him.
But I'm just saying, well, there's a Hurricane Michael. Never mind. I was gonna say there's no like super generic names, and I saw Michael and Mitch right next to each other. I went, oh, well,
yeah,
those are pretty basic names.
There was a Hurricane Maria like last year or the year before.
Yeah,
and it literally only hit like Cuba and Puerto Rico, and I was like, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I just like, so I don't know. I mean, I guess there's no rhyme or reason. They just named it. How they form is who gets what name, right? So whenever it formed, first one formed gets this name. But they're weird. I mean, there's some weird names. I don't know where they get the names from. There hasn't been a David that I know of. I mean, maybe there is, but I don't.
Wait, hold on now. I'm reading that the United States government operated the NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has. And its main division, the National Weather Service, did not acknowledge TWC's storm names and asked forecast offices to refrain from using TWC names. In November 2012 memo, it requested that employees avoid referring to storms by name. It says that because winter storms' impact can vary from one location to another, and storms can weaken and redevelop, making it difficult to define where one ends and another begins.
Right.
So the United States government does not name storms.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be
the Weather Channel.
The Weather Channel.
Right. Which is, let's be honest, it's where 90% of America gets their weather from.
It's literally the app that's built into my phone.
Right.
To tell me what my weather is.
Yeah, you get the Weather Channel. That's what you get.
It's true.
Anyway, so this has been the Weather Report.
Yep.
And we want to thank you for listening. So
tune in next week for more sports and maybe weather.
Next week when we talk about the sun. I don't know. So we got some things to talk about. We're going to talk about the NFL, NFL scores, playoff implications of said scores and injuries, because there are things that happen. We're going to talk about the college football championship week, the final college football playoff rankings, and the fallout from said rankings. We're going to talk about the Heisman finalists a little bit, and we got a trivia question, as always. You know what? We'll probably start with the trivia question. Are you ready to start with the trivia question?
Yes.
Okay. The trivia question takes some setup, so I might as well get through it. All right. Here you go. The Stave & Stone trivia question. Since 1987, there have been 5 major awards that a college football quarterback, Division I quarterback, could win. Well, not Division I, what do they call them? FBS quarterback could win in any given season. 5. Okay. The Robert Tiny Maxwell Award, Best Player in College Football. That's what it's awarded to. The Walter Camp Award. It's Player of the Year. The Davey O'Brien National Quarterback Award.
Right.
The Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. And the Heisman Memorial Trophy, which is awarded to the outstanding college football player in the United States.
Right.
So quarterbacks are eligible for all 5 of those. Right? So some of those you can't win if you're, the Golden Arm Award, you can't win that if you're a linebacker.
Right.
So anyway, there are 5. There's only one player since 1987 that has won all 5 in one season. Can you name him and what year it was?
Ooh.
Yeah, right? Deep research by our crack research team, which is basically me looking shit up all night, all day.
Huh. I feel like I know this. Is it okay? Is it in our time?
Whoa, what is our time?
Meaning like modern era football, so 1998 current. It's right
No,
there on the
then.
fringe, huh?
So it's on the edge, yes. Yeah, now I've narrowed it down for you, giving you a huge hint. Way to go ahead and put a date on it. Modern football, I consider to be like 80 on forward. You know what I mean? Before that, you leather helmets and whatever. But
well, in my head, I think, when did they start fitting pads for players and not just giving them whatever they had?
Which is
you
funny.
know what I'm talking about, because you've seen Barry Sanders in his is it Oklahoma or Texas?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State with the big giant shoulder pads and the jersey's it's just a mesh jersey.
And the picture that I'm going to show you of the answer, you'll laugh, because that's exactly right.
Of course it is.
That's exactly right. You got an idea? Let's just save it for the end. Hold on to it.
We'll save it for the end, because at the moment I don't know.
I'll give you time to think about it.
Okay.
You'll stew on it for a while. We're going to start with the NFL then, because why not? Right. So let's talk about the NFL. Week 13 in the NFL was this past weekend. Started with Seahawks Cowboys on Thursday night. Is anybody playing better football than Dak Prescott right now?
Is anybody?
Is any quarterback playing better than Dak Prescott in the NFL right now?
I don't think so.
Okay. Maybe Brock Purdy, since everybody's healthy, but Dak Prescott. The Cowboys are 9-3, right?
Yeah.
Setting up their 41-35 win over the Seahawks, setting up a huge game against Philadelphia this week for the division lead, basically. If Philadelphia's already beat the Cowboys once, but if they win this, they'll be split, and they'll both have the same record at 10-2, so it'll come down to some tiebreakers, division record, conference record, whatever. But the Cowboys are right there. Now, what everybody's going to say is, well, can they do it in the playoffs, right?
Can they do it in the playoffs? Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I said.
Well, that's the narrative surrounding him. They've got to prove it the next level.
Correct. And if they lose this game to Philadelphia, what that means is, number one, you're going to have a road game, or you're going to have a home game maybe but you're going to have to go to Philadelphia. You're going to have to go to San Francisco. Nobody wants to do that in the playoffs. So this is a big deal. But they beat the Seahawks 41-35. Dak was brilliant. 29 of 41, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dallas's offense looked fantastic. Scored in every quarter. They were a juggernaut. They just kept scoring, and Seattle was trying to keep pace. And they did a good job, to be honest. They were in the game, but in the end, it was just too much. And despite DK Metcalf, 6 catches, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? And Geno Smith throwing for 334. They just didn't have enough to beat the Cowboys. So, I don't know. I think the Cowboys are playing really good football. We'll know more after the next game, right?
Did you see that stat that this is the first time in NFL history the team did not punt for an entire game and lost?
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting games this week where nobody turned the ball over, right? But you had this really low-scoring football game. I'm going to point to 49ers-Eagles wasn't a low-scoring game, but neither team turned the ball over. There's no fumbles, no interceptions. So it was just punts on Philadelphia's part, because San Francisco didn't punt. I mean, 42 points is 6 touchdowns, and they scored like on 6 of 7 possessions or whatever. So, yeah, there was a lot of that going on where teams just didn't turn the ball over, but there was some low-scoring things. The Chargers and Patriots would be one of those examples, right? A 6-0 football game in a nasty rainstorm, and you would expect that to be a fumble affair, right? I think there was only 1 turnover in the game, which is weird. So
unusual.
There were some things going on, and I don't know. So anyway, it was a lot of interesting stuff going on. But Seahawks now at 6-6, struggling to make the playoffs. Maybe. I mean,
yeah, it's an uphill battle. I think their chances are like sub 16% at this point.
So now they're tied with the Rams for second in the NFC West, and the Rams have won 3 straight and have beat Seattle twice.
I was saying the Rams have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, for
So
sure. So that's an uphill battle right
in
there.
your division, you're third.
Right. So
And unless your whole division gets in, which the NFC is actually, I think, better top to bottom than the AFC this year. Unless your whole division gets in, it's going to be tough.
There are 6 teams ahead of them right now, and then they would be tied with Minnesota and Green Bay record-wise for the last spot, with Tampa and New Orleans just a game back. Yeah.
It's an uphill battle. They need to win everything.
They do. They need to just win out, but it's going to be a struggle.
Because they have the 49ers this weekend and the Seahawks next, or in the Eagles the next weekend, which we'll be at.
Yeah, that's true. Best Time Sports Show at Monday Night Football would be awesome.
That's right. We'll take some pictures and we'll put them on the screen.
We'll definitely take some pictures, and we might have to do just a little video clip. So
a little video clip. That's right.
Because we're going to be there. Anyway, so Cowboys playing good football. The Chargers managed to win and win ugly.
The Chargers are playing football.
Let's call it. I mean, they're 5-7, so they're still alive for a playoff spot, but it was a pair of field goals. It was a terrible New England team, so 6-0 is a win. The weather, like I said, was terrible. I do love the Patriots throwback uniforms. I love those uniforms. With
the red's beautiful. Yeah,
with a little Patriot dude on the helmet. Snap.
It would have been cooler if they wore all red, and the Chargers wore that baby blue.
Yeah, that would be pretty.
It'd be visually appealing in the snow.
Yeah, it would have been.
Or in the rain or whatever that was.
Yeah, nasty cold rain. Anyway, long story short, on this one, they won ugly. The Chargers had 29 yards rushing. There's a team with Austin Eckler that had 29 yards rushing, and still managed to win somehow. Again,
Austin Eckler he's up and down, right? And he's inconsistent. And when he's on, he's good. I would never use him as a true running back. Well, I would not use him between the tackles. It would almost exclusively be pass catching out of the backfield.
Yeah, this was a game I'm sure they were fortunate and happy to win. Their defense played great, so you got to do what you got to do. But they're fortunate to win and go home and say, we went to New England in December and got a win, right? So not many people do that, regardless of the fact the Patriots are 2-10. Shh, we won't tell anybody. Colts beat the Titans 31-28. Colts are now 7-5. Titans 4-8 in the AFC South. The Lions beat the Saints 33-28 at New Orleans. The Lions are now 9-3, leading the NFC North. Saints are 5-7, but just a game out of first place in the NFC South.
Because it's garbage. Did you see the injury in this game?
I did not.
So you need to go watch it, because there is a play. I was on the phone, or Cassie's on the phone with her dad, and I'm walking downstairs, and I turn and look at the screen, and Alvin Kamara gets pushed to the sideline and runs into a whole bunch of people. He runs into some sideline personnel, including the cameraman. So he stands up, the cameraman stands up, the cameraman's pointing at him, and in the background of him, you see this guy who is an official of some sort. He's got a bright neon vest on, but he's got like official's gear on, and he is holding his leg, and it is sideways.
Oh.
It is sideways. Well, the reports came out it is a broken fibula.
Oh, yeah.
And a dislocated knee.
Oh, both.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's really hard to get one.
Well, once you got the broken part, then the rest of it just tore.
The shocking part's that he didn't break his tibia.
Yeah.
Just his fibula and he dislocated knee. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the screen and watching him go out of bounds. I watch them stand up and I go, oh my God. And Cassie goes, what? And I go, do you not see this? And then I can hear Cassie's dad on speakerphone go, oh my God.
There's that delay, yeah?
Yeah, there's a little delay. So it was particularly gruesome, but it was wild. But apparently all the players and the NFL are coming together to help him out in any way possible. So that's nice.
That is nice. Yeah.
Although Alvin Kamara just kind of stood there looking at him, I guarantee you he was in a little bit of shock. Like, oh my God, I just really hurt this guy on accident.
If you've never seen it before, if you've never been in person and seen a serious injury, it's tough for your body to process. I mean, your mind just goes, whoa, what just happened?
Well, yeah, so when I've seen quite a few of them, especially working for Portland State and things like that. But I saw one where a guy's leg went sideways, just below the knee. So it was definitely a fibula break. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I am already yelling for the trainers, but I'm looking at it like, how does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
that's confusing. That's not supposed to do that.
yeah, your brain trying to process what it's seeing half
And
the
then it
time.
sets in that like, oh,
Oh yeah,
this is a problem.
yeah, yeah. This is a major injury. This is not supposed to
Yeah.
be this way.
Yeah.
It takes you a minute to process this. I'm gonna share something. I came across a car accident when I was in Savannah, Georgia. Came across a car accident that had just happened, and I was like the third car on the scene. So I pull over and I stop. It is bad. You can just tell it's bad. And I went to go check on one of the people in the car who had been pushed off the road. It's a big 4 lane, 2 lanes each direction, pushed off the road by the impact and was down over an embankment. So I went to go check on that car, and the person in the car, this is gross. This is why we don't allow kids to listen.
Right.
Um, their right arm
Mhm.
was backwards,
Ooh.
and I could not. It took me. I mean, it took me 20, 30 seconds of looking at it to go, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
Why is this going? Why is the elbow backwards?
Put that back. What are you
Right.
doing?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, this is bad. And it's at that point when your brain, when it clicks and you go, this is really bad.
Yeah. These people need help.
Well, that person didn't survive. So, but
Oh.
yeah, it was just when I first saw that, it was the first thing I could see. It was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's not okay.
Yeah,
So,
it sticks out, but now I can't, like, when I watch sporting events, I see every injury. Like,
yeah,
I feel like my eyes are tuned for injuries now. So I see them so fast.
it doesn't take long for you now to process them. I'm the same way because you've seen enough sports to know what looks right, and then you know when a guy his foot is pointing the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
That's clue number one. Or his finger has a double bend in it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And
I
that's one
think
of those things where you go,
worst one
ooh,
ever has to be Nurkic.
yeah,
Because the camera like just stayed on him
those
for
are
like a
bad.
good like 15 seconds because again the cameraman is trying to process what
Sure.
is happening
What am I looking at?
also.
So
Yeah,
are all the
like
producer and the
so
director and all that. Yeah, right. There's
and
like,
then as soon as they realize that it cuts away they never show it again.
right.
Like it's clear that everyone's realized it, but that
Uh,
had to be, I think that one and the Gordon Hayward one. I don't know why basketball ones stick out.
is that the one
Football
from
ones are
Louisville?
no
Gordon Hayward,
Where.
huh?
Yeah, that was Spencer Ware. No, not
Yeah,
Spencer Ware.
from Louisville, the guy that jumped up and landed on the sideline and
Yeah.
his leg just went. Doop.
Yep, just snapped. It was a compound too.
Yeah, and
So like it broke through the skin.
I'm thinking you need to eat a sandwich, dude. Your legs are too skinny.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
the I think the Gordon Hayward one and the Nurkic one are the ones that stick out. The football ones, it's like they happen, but there's a collision, so you're almost kind of expecting
yeah,
something to happen on any
and there's a
given
lot of
point.
other activity. You know what I mean?
Right.
Involved
Yeah.
in it, so you don't really necessarily see it right away.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Anywho,
yeah. Anyway,
gross.
and there is the medical portion of our show. We had weather. We've covered medical. We're doing good.
We're getting there. Yeah.
We'll get to the food section here in a minute. I don't think that's true. Falcons beat the Jets 13-7. The Falcons are leading the NFC South at 6-6. There's always a division like this, and it is ugly. That's why the Saints are only a game back.
It's true.
And I don't even. I mean, the Buccaneers are 5-7 after winning. We'll talk about them in a minute. But anyway, I'm like, this is crappy. Cardinals beat the Steelers 24-10. The Cardinals, who I thought maybe should be tanking by now.
Yeah, I'm not sure Kyler Murray got that memo because he doesn't want to get replaced.
Well, Kyler Murray wasn't great in this football game, but he didn't have. This is one of those games. When I watched the Cardinals Steelers, Pittsburgh was 1 for 3 in the red zone, 4 of 11 on third down, right? So they didn't convert when they needed to. The Cardinals were 3 of 3 in the red zone, and Kyler Murray only threw for 145 yards. I mean, that's minuscule, right? In terms of
they only had 4 possessions in the
right.
game.
It was James Conner, 25 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, the solid piece. But he's the only thing that really happened in this football game. There weren't a lot of turnovers. There weren't a lot of mistakes. The Steelers did get penalized 9 times, but the Steelers just seem to be missing something when they need that play. They don't have anybody to do it. And this was Mitch Trubisky at quarterback for the most part. Kenny Pickett also did play, but
what's new? He got hurt.
None of them were any good. I mean, Kyler Murray, if you look at it, go, meh, he was okay. There was nothing standoutish in this football game. But the Steelers are still vying for a playoff spot, and they're only 2 games behind Baltimore, so there's a chance they could still win the division. That division was the best division in football until this weekend. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even. So let's talk about. I mean, I don't know. What did you? I didn't even see any of the Arizona Pittsburgh game because it wasn't on here, and I couldn't watch it. But Kenny Pickett gets hurt too, so I mean, I'm not think that's the worst thing for them. A change at quarterback. They've already fired the offensive coordinator. Now you got to change a quarterback. Maybe something will shake him up. But 10 points against a 2-10 Cardinal team
Right.
isn't going to cut it when you're vying for a playoff spot. Anyway, Dolphins over the Commanders 45-15. Dolphins lead the AFC East at 9-3. And then Texans 22-17 win over the Broncos. Russell Wilson with 3 interceptions in this one.
Yeah, that was a doozy. One of them, well, the last one, I mean, 3 interceptions, right? The last one was because he shouldn't have tried to make that play, but at the end of the game, you're trying to do anything.
He's trying to
so,
push it down.
Yeah, he absolutely did that. Number 2, that tight end needed to do a hair more once he realized he had no position on it.
Yeah.
He needed to do, commit a pass interference. We'll take a 15-yard penalty right now. To do anything.
Sure.
Because it was going right to that guy. But the other 2, one of them was like a dump away down the sideline that was like, hey, I'm going to put this wrong. This guy can get it, but there was somebody between him and his guy, and he didn't see it. And then the other one was just like, what are you doing?
Here's one of those things I'll never understand. And we've talked about this before, but the difference between QBR and a quarterback rating, right? The rating. So C.J. Stroud is going to be the example I'm going to use this week. 16 of 27, 274 yards and a touchdown, 10.1 yards per attempt,
right?
Which is pretty good. Anything over 10 is really good. He was sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay. His QBR is 17.1. His rating is 106.1. I'm confused as to how you can have that big of difference between the two things. You know what I mean? Because Russell Wilson, who threw 3 interceptions and was sacked 3 times, had a QBR of 20 and a rating of 53. So what in the rating made it look like he did a great job, but in the QBR made it look like he was crappy? If it's sacks, you can't blame those all on him. So
yeah,
I mean, that's weird to me. So
so QBR, it accounts for leveraged plays. So plays where the scheme was designed for a quick throw,
right?
You're not going to get as much credit for that as you are for sitting in the pocket for 3 seconds, going through your reads and finding somebody. A play where it is mentally not stimulating. That's why when you look across the league, despite Tua's incredible year, his QBR and his rating both aren't that high.
Right.
It's because they're accounting for, actual quarterback intuition. But getting sacked 5 times is huge. It will ding your QBR so fast.
Yeah.
Because it counts against you for the down, it counts against you for the yardage. It's awful.
Yeah, it's true. And I understand some of that. 5 sacks isn't usually 5 sacks are not 5. Oh, I made a mistake as quarterback sacks. It's usually 50-50. Okay, my line failed me, right? And so I don't really have time to do anything, and that's probably half the sacks. 2 to 3.
I usually say if you have 3 sacks in the game, there's a strong chance your line just failed you. Mm-hmm. Once you get above 3, there's a little bit of introspective that needs to happen about how long are you holding the ball? What are you doing with it? Are you moving in a way that's causing your line to fail?
Because usually by the time you've been sacked 3 or 4 times, you should be aware that you have to get rid of the ball sooner.
Right.
I mean, that should have come into your mind.
So when Shadur Sanders was taking 7 sacks in a game, I mean, in my head, there's definitely 1 or 2 or 3 of those that are 100% on his line. But there's a bunch of them that you're doing something wrong, or your coaches are doing something wrong that is putting you in a bad position to get sacked. So it's off the line at some point. And in my head, that's 3. Because at 3, you can kind of push blame either way. It doesn't really matter. You get rid of it, block better, whatever. But once you get above 3, it's we can probably nail this down whose fault it was.
Nico Collins for Houston had 9 catches, 191 yards, 21 yards per catch. Brevin Jordan, 3 catches for 64 yards, 21 yards also per catch. If you're getting 21 yards a catch on 12 catches from 2 wide receivers, you're doing something good.
They look like the A&M team with Manziel.
Oh, for sure. He's throwing the ball
it is
up.
Chaos. Well, it's Russell Wilson in Seattle. It's Manziel A&M, it's chaos that results in
a big
like
play.
a weird breakdown that goes for 15, 20, 25 yards. And you're like, what the hell just happened? On third and long, we'll give up a 30-yard play. I'm like, what just happened?
If you can scramble around in the backfield long enough and stay afloat and not have a holding, then your receivers are going to get open. There's only so long a defensive back can guard a guy. Just bound.
And CJ Stroud is good, man. He's
good.
He's got a decent head on his shoulders. He has a cannon
does.
for an arm. I watched him rocket a pass that went about 20 yards, and it couldn't have moved more than 2 feet from above where he released it to the person. Like, it was a dart. It was insane.
Yeah, he's pretty darn good. So definitely rookie of the year, right? Offensive rookie of the year?
I think so.
At this point.
And I'll tell you what, if they make the playoffs and make some sort of run, you need to talk about him for MVP.
He should get a vote or two for sure. I'm not sure he's the best quarterback or best player in the league, but he's definitely should be in that discussion.
I mean, he has a worse team than Dak does.
For sure.
All around. He has a worse run game, worse passing game, and the defense is worse in every way. And yet they're still going out and winning games. So if they make the playoffs and contend, not just make it and fall out, but if you make the playoffs and maybe win your wild card game or whatever, I mean, they might win the division. So they might not be in a wild card game. So
it's true.
It's very interesting. We'll see what happens. Oh wait, no, they can't win the division because that's the Jaguars. Well, they could.
Well, we'll talk about them in a minute. Because you never know. The big game of the week was Niners-Eagles, right? And the Niners just pretty much nailed the Eagles in Philadelphia.
Smoked them.
Yeah, it wasn't even really that close. And they're trying. The narrative that everyone's trying to say is, well, the Eagles are banged up. They had some injuries. Jalen Hurts came out of this game, and we saw Marcus Mariota for a couple
plays. Those same people need to keep that energy up when you were talking about the 49ers
a
couple weeks ago losing games while they were banged up.
And that was what I was going to point out was the Niners lost 3 in a row. And Trent Williams, their left tackle, was out those 3 games.
Right. And Debo is out for 2 of them.
Sure. But
and
I mean,
somebody else is out for another one.
Since Trent Williams has come back and before Trent Williams went out, they're undefeated. So I'm like, okay.
Gotta love a good tackle.
Left tackle who guards your backside. That is a big deal, right? Anyway, so the Niners win 42-19, and it was just a crushing. I mean, it wasn't even. I never felt like Philadelphia was in it, you know?
Well, I thought they were briefly because there was that at the beginning of the game they took the lead. I want to say they were up 6-0 or 6-3.
6-0, yeah.
They marched down the field twice and then stalled out in the red zone. It's like you need to. I mean, the one thing the Niners did well was they kept them away from 3rd and 4th and short.
But by the time the Niners scored in the second quarter, and then scored again and made it 14-6. I was like, there's nothing because the Eagles had nothing at that point. But I think the Eagles came out and scored on the first
drive of
possession
of
the third quarter. Yeah. No, it was not the first possession. The Niners came out and scored on theirs. It was their first possession of the second quarter. So it was 21-13 at that point. And I'm like, okay. But after the rest, but the rest of the game was 21-6 Niners. I mean, it was 21-6. At just the first possession of the third quarter, and then Philadelphia scored, and then it was 21-6 after that. And I'm like, geez, the
49ers had 6 consecutive drives starting in the second quarter through the end of the game,
right,
where they scored touchdowns.
Yeah, it was crazy
on every single drive.
They were so good, so fast, and it was. You know, it wasn't just Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey had 1 rushing touchdown. Brandon Ayuk with a touchdown pass. Debo Samuel with a 12-yard run, and then Debo with 2 40-yard passes. Right?
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings with a pass. Brock Purdy, when his team is healthy, his line is healthy, is so efficient at quarterback.
Yeah.
19 of 27, 314 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts was 26 of 45, 298 and a touchdown too, but. He got a little dinged up. We'll see how he fares after, see how hurt he is. He came back in this game.
That hurt, because there were concerns he had injuries at the beginning of the season, and there were concerns early in the season about, he's got this, he's got that. If he's hurt, I think you need to play him against the Cowboys if he can, right. And then I'm saying this partially selfishly, but also partially realistically, then maybe you sit him
against Seattle
for the Seahawks, the Giants, the Cards, and the Giants Those are 4 winnable games with backups.
Well, they won't sit him on Monday night against.
I don't think
Seattle,
they will.
but they might against the Giants.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll be so Marcus is coming back to the Northwest. I'm so happy.
If they beat Dallas this week, there's a very strong chance that after they play Seattle, they would rest him a little bit because there's a good chance they've won the division at that point.
Yeah, you've got 3-week games to end the season, right. And Giants, Cards, Giants. Yeah. But you should be able to work that out.
But the Niners are nipping right at them, and they have the head-to-head now. So the Niners, if you lose a game out of the final 5, right, and the Niners keep winning, you will lose home field advantage. You'll have to play a first round.
And if the Cowboys stay as hot as they are, they're also nearby.
Could win the division, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you really can't afford to let anything go. But I mean, at what point are you thinking we need to get Jalen Hurts healthy for the playoffs?
Yeah, because
we're going. Yeah, because that's when it matters. It doesn't matter if it's wild card and you have to do all your games on the road. Like if he's going to be hurt, limping through the playoffs, you're going to get bounced out of the playoffs real fast.
And let's be fair, at 10-2, if you lost the remaining 5 games and finished 10-7, there's a pretty darn good chance you're still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have to win another game to get into the playoffs. Yeah, for home field and all that other stuff, there's a lot going on. But anyway, the Niners just look like the best football team. That kind of exposed the Eagles a little bit. You know what I mean? And I don't know if other teams will be able to use it as a blueprint. But, I mean, step one, have the highest salary in the league, right? And that's how you beat the Eagles.
That's it's the LeBron. It's the Lakers thing. Let's just pay people, or the Warriors. Sorry, let's just buy them. Yeah,
buy a championship. That's how you do it. We had the Sunday night game. Packers 27, Chiefs 19. Jordan Love throws 3 touchdown passes. He looked really good.
Yeah, he did.
Jordan Love looked really good and efficient. 267 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was still a very close game, and there were times when I thought the officiating at the end of the game was terrible.
God awful.
There was pass interference after pass interference, not called. Some called that weren't pass interference. It was just crazy. And here's my question to Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco, 18 carries, 110 yards. And yet at the end of the game, you're not running him. Like, I would have gone a steady dose of him as much as I could have. I mean, maybe he's injured, maybe there's something, but I mean, you can't stop him. He's getting 6 yards a carry plus. Just keep running the football. But Kansas City loves to showcase Mahomes to Kelsey, and in this case, it kind of failed him. So,
yeah, it was. I mean, one, how have you, as a team, the Chiefs, not gone out and bought an all-star, a Pro Bowl wide receiver? How has that not happened for you? Are you so content on the Pacheco and Kelsey combo that you think that you're never going to need a real wide receiver? Because they've been floating by since they got rid of Tyreek. And that's not to say they've done badly, but they've been floating by. But you need a one, and Valdez-Scantling is not the one.
No, I think if you.
But also, by the way, Isaiah Pacheco got ejected in that game.
That's true. I think. Well, that's true. That's a good point. But Rashee Rice is going to be a great wide receiver in the NFL. But
I think so.
He's young, and yeah, he had 8 catches for 64 yards. They're short. They use him on short, like third down plays, and I get it. He caught 8. He was targeted 9 times, caught 8 catches. That's amazing. But he's not your deep threat. They need another deep threat. That's what they need, is somebody that's capable of beating defense.
Well, they were able to use Juju last year pretty effectively to that end.
Right. They just don't have one now.
Yep.
Is what I'm getting at. And so that's what they're missing. But anyway, Green Bay, Christian Watson is
I like Christian Watson.
Yeah, that's a good player right there.
He's tall, he's fast, he's strong, he's everything you want. Yeah. He has the similar not same build, but like he looks like a slightly shrunken down Megatron in terms of like length of his arms and things like that. But like proportionately shrunken down. Like just like if Megatron was 80% of the size.
there may be another Megatron.
That's true.
He's one of a kind. So let's talk about Monday night. Bengals, Jaguars. The Bengals we think are going down. The Jaguars have been playing great, right? And the Bengals decided to wear those white uniforms that I just don't like.
They're so pretty.
They're okay. They need more orange. It needs another splash of orange.
It's the perfect amount. It's
I don't
just
think so.
It's sassy looking. I dig it.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the solid white. Anyway, Bengals end up winning this in overtime on an Evan McPherson 48-yard field goal for a 34-31 win. But the story here is two stories. Number one, Trevor Lawrence gets hurt in this game.
Right.
And it was pretty severe. He didn't take the cart off the field. He said he declined the cart. The cart was available. He didn't want to take it. Okay.
Yeah, a little too much pride there, bud.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely very, very injured, pounding the turf, and he was down, and it looked for all the world bad.
Right.
So I don't know what his status is still. I don't know that I've gotten an update in terms of.
They have said that he won't comment
right
on a time frame because he doesn't want to box him in that way. But I'm telling you right now, if it's a high ankle sprain that bad to where it stops your play right away, and you can't even go get a cortisone shot, get taped up, and come back, you're out for a week or two.
Yeah, well, C.J. Beathard came in to play quarterback at backup. He was like 9 of 10.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
I mean, he didn't look terrible coming into backup. But the bigger story, I mean, not that Trevor Lawrence isn't the biggest story. He probably is. A bigger story to me, Jake Browning.
Yeah, he had a big day.
354 yards and a touchdown for Cincinnati. Obviously, Joe Burrow's out. That was a big deal. This was a big win for Cincinnati. Cincinnati has some tiebreaker games already won, kind of like banked against AFC opponents in case of playoff spot. But they're 6-6. This got them kind of back into that playoff discussion. I think everybody at 6-6 or 5-7 is still in the playoff discussion anyway. But
yeah,
that's a tough division. Yeah, they're at the bottom of that division because the Browns are 7-5, the Steelers are 7-5, and then there's the Ravens who had the week off. Yeah, I don't.
Here's
know.
what I'll tell you about Jake Browning's performance.
Yes,
it never hurts to have Jamar Chase to throw it to.
It does not. You're not wrong.
So he definitely played a good game, but this needs to be the note that all NFL coaches need to have. When your starter goes down, you treat your backup like your starter. Let him do the same things.
Sure.
Because I mean, he threw 37 times.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen with backups.
No, not normally.
If you have backups who start a game, normally they'll maybe get 20 to 25 throws tops out of them. Sometimes they'll even hold them down to 15 or so. Yeah. When Drew Lock came in for Geno Smith, when he got hurt, he threw the ball twice over the course of 2 quarters.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, do we not want to try? But with Jake Brown, they're like, no, you are Joe Burrow now. Just do the same thing. And he did it. And again, it never hurts to throw in Jamar Chase. Yeah. And it never hurts that Joe Mixon had a stud running day.
Right. But, Joe Mixon. So here's the question. Tyler Boyd threw the only interception in this game.
Oh, my God.
And it was a terrible – I mean, that was one of the worst plays I have seen. And I've been watching football a long time.
There's no doubt in my mind he did not see him.
He absolutely did not.
He did not know that guy was there at all.
No, that was Josh Allen, and he did not see him at all. And yet he was standing directly in front of who he was throwing to because he threw it right to him. I mean, he threw it. Here's the funny part is when it happened and I watched it, I would not have been surprised if Josh Allen had dropped it, going, "What the hell is happening? Why is this ball coming right to me?" Right? Because he's a defensive player, and you're not used to that. So I was kind of expecting his brain to freeze and him to drop the football, but it came right to him. It didn't end up costing him the game. It could have, but it didn't. But that was just a terrible. What is that play call? Why are we doing that in a game?
I'm actually watching it again right now.
Yeah.
I do think he kind of knew he was there, but he didn't put any air underneath.
No, he couldn't get it up in the air.
It was a dart. You see that a lot with guys who wear gloves while they throw. Well, it tends to come out a little sharper.
And he's not a quarterback. Let's be honest. He doesn't practice putting touch on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to mention, even if it would have got there, like let's say it was 2 feet, 3 feet higher in the air and would have got there.
Yeah.
That guy was about to get blown up too.
Yeah, it would have been ugly. That play was
all going down.
Was doomed from the start, and it was one of those things where you go, "What were you guys thinking? Why did you do that?"
But kudos to the Bengals for trying to take a risk because sometimes football gets so boring with the same concepts.
Jamar Chase had a pass attempt as well. He was 1 for 1. He completed that one for -7 yards. So their two non-quarterback throws were 1 for 2, -7 yards and an interception.
I'd come right back to it next week. I would
Yeah,
run
just go
that
right.
same exact play
I mean,
with
practice
with
first.
with him. I mean, I'm sure they practice it. So the thing is, like, there was a section of practice when I was at PSU. It was like the last like 25 minutes or so before we went into the kicking stuff right at the very end. It was like, this is where, did anybody have any ideas? It was kind of like what it was. It wasn't quite that casual, but it was like, this is when the shenanigans got practiced, and they got practiced maybe twice. So like, if somebody drew up a play that week and was like, hey, let's give this a whirl, they'll run it twice.
Let's give
And
this
so
a
it's not like a play
whirl.
they practice a lot. They try this person, they try this coaches, and they try this coaches, and they try this coaches. Say, all right, let's get on to kicking.
Some guy said, "Hey, what about this?" and brings out the little napkin that he sketched up a play on. Right? That's how it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
kind
know.
of.
Kind of. Yeah. Jamar Chase with
It's
11.
kind of. I've sat in the coaches meetings, and it's just a coach doing that.
Jamar Chase with 11 catches, 149 yards and a touchdown. Um, they looked good. Cincinnati looked good. Their defense didn't look great, but I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars who are good. I mean, so it and they have Travis Etienne, and they've got people. It's not. I, here's what I say: the Jacksonville, and it depends on how hurt Trevor Lawrence is. It depends on how long it's going to take for him to get back and be fully healthy. Calvin Ridley has been disappointing to me this year. You picked him up. Of course, he might still be betting on football. It's hard to tell, but he's been okay at times. But there are times when he disappears. He should be a bigger factor in your game. Christian Kirk, right, is your number one wide receiver, I think.
Right.
He had one catch for 26 yards. Calvin Ridley had 4 catches, 26 yards. Right?
Right.
Zay Jones ends up being your number one wide receiver in this game. And then, of course, they have Evan Ingram, the tight end, and they like to hit the tight end, and I get that. It just feels like there's more to be had there. You've got some really talented players on your team who aren't necessarily performing, and credit to Cincinnati if they took them away, but they still had 321 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jacksonville did. So
yeah, I'd say on the year he's got 689 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. He's a 2 or a 3 on those numbers, depends on how deep your system is. And I'll tell you, their system's actually pretty deep. Yeah. Like, they've got some, between Kirk and a couple other guys, they've got some dudes. Yep. So I don't think they're hurting at the wide receiver position so much to where you need to force it. I will say this, though. He was targeted 8 times and only caught 4.
Yeah. And it's weird.
I didn't see all 8, so I don't know for sure what happened there. But
Christian Kirk was targeted 1 time.
Right.
And I thought he was going to be your deep ball. He came over from Arizona, right? He's your speedster guy, whatever. I've always pictured Jacksonville, and Evan Ingram is the tight end. That's what they do. They throw to the tight end a lot. He had 9 targets.
Yeah, he had a good day.
Anyway, this is going to have implications down the road if Trevor Lawrence is hurt for longer than
he'll at least miss this weekend.
Yeah, a couple
maybe
games.
More.
So, but they have a big enough lead, but Indianapolis keeps winning football games, so it's hard to say.
And Houston keeps winning football games.
Speaking of that, did I cover that? Colts 31-28 over the Titans in overtime. Did I cover, let's see, Buccaneers 21-18 over the Panthers. Buccaneers still alive for the NFC South. They're going to have to win it because there's nobody getting in as a wild card from the NFC South. And the Rams 36-19 over the Browns to keep themselves in good position. The Rams look so good sometimes. This is a 3rd straight win. They look so good sometimes, and then there's other times, where you go, Rams. And then the Browns. The Browns are the same way. These two teams are like where I go, all right, looking good. No, not so much. So it's hard to say those two teams. They're probably both going to be on that fringe playoff area. So we got more of that going on, but we got to talk about college football. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So championship week happened this past weekend. All the conference championship games. Friday, Washington beat Oregon 34-31 for the Pac-12 championship. Frustrating for Oregon fans. It was a really good football game to watch. It was entertaining. Oregon started so slowly. That was part of the problem. Had they been able to get a score maybe on one of the first couple possessions or just do something and move the football and gain some confidence, they did come back. They did take the lead in this one. They were up 24-20. They just couldn't seem to put Washington away when they had the opportunity to do so. And that was all the difference because Washington has made a living this year of winning these close games.
Right.
So Michael Penix is your MVP for the game, 319 yards, a touchdown, interception. I honestly should have been Johnson.
Yeah.
28 carries, 152 yards, and 2 scores.
Set up everything they did. Everything they did came off of the run.
Yeah, I think he was the better. It's really hard when you have a team like Washington who has 3 or 4 wide receivers who are excellent. I mean, it's hard to cover them all. And then when you do, well, there's a guy running the ball up the middle. It makes it really hard to spread the defense. Oregon defense, I thought, did a great job of keeping them in the football game and not letting it get out of hand. And then Oregon scored right before the half to make it 20-10 because it was 20-3. And then Oregon scored to make it 20-10. Oregon had 2 touchdowns in the third quarter, took the lead. And then it was the fourth quarter. There was some play calling issues. There was a Bo Nix interception there. He just didn't see that guy on the sideline.
Yep.
After Michael Penix had thrown the interception the play before.
Yeah, that was
a big deal.
That was a heartbreaker.
Yeah, it really was because that was a chance. That was a chance to just take the ball, waste some time and some clock, drive down the field, score whatever, maybe a field goal. Didn't matter what it was, but they didn't. They just couldn't capitalize on the opportunities that they were given. So, Washington's your Pac-12 champion or Pac-12 champion. I almost said Pac-10. I mean, it's Pac-2 now, right?
I don't even know how you could still be making that mistake 11 years later.
But it's been
13 years later.
It's been the Pac-10 for me longer than it's been the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Longer in my lifetime. So that's what I'm using.
That's fair.
So yeah, the Ducks are going to play Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl, and I'm going to tell you my 2 cents on that, which is I hate that. Okay, Georgia's getting to play Ohio State.
Right.
No, not Ohio State. Is it Ohio State?
It's not Ohio
Florida State. It's Florida State. Georgia's get to play
State.
Florida State, right? Ranked 5 and 6 respectively, right? Ohio State gets to play Missouri or Ole Miss, right? Like ranked 8th, 9th, 6th, right? Whatever it is, right? So they've got a big game to play too. Oregon gets the group of 5, who's ranked 20th, and I don't. Right. You have nothing. It's a no-win situation. If you win the game, oh well, you should have beat them. Conference USA.
It's true. If you go out and smoke them, everyone will say, well, that's what's supposed to happen here, right?
So they put Oregon in a position that no other team is in a bowl game, really.
Right.
In that it's a no-win situation. If you win, you should have won. If you lose, oh, you got smoked by Liberty? Really? If
you lose, what the heck were you doing?
Right. So I don't like that. This happens a lot, and it happens more than it should. That's when that group of 5 team gets in that really, I'm going to be honest with you, they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's cool for them.
It is.
It's cool for them, but it's for the Ducks. You're right. No win. Like
no win.
What is going to happen with this? Like, I'm hoping we come out and just smoke them. I'm happy Bo Nix has announced he's playing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So that's fun too. But it's just like cool.
Right.
Well, I guess we're playing Liberty then.
And they gotta watch. They gotta watch out. Caden Salter, the quarterback for Liberty, in the Conference USA Championship game, which was a 49-35 win over New Mexico State. He had 319 passing yards, 165 rushing yards on 12 carries. He is one of those dynamic quarterbacks that usually gives Oregon fits.
The Tyler Shuck types.
Dances
well,
around.
The good news is there's a season of film.
It's true
on him.
You do have opportunities, but they were never beaten, so no one actually just shut them down.
Well, what I mean is like Caleb Williams didn't exactly give Oregon fits.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and he's a dynamic run around kind of guy. The only person who did it this year was Tyler Shuck, and it was the second game of the season, and no one knew exactly what they were going to get out of that.
Yeah.
And all the other Cam Ward, who's potentially a rushing quarterback. Let's see here. No, Utah's quarterback ran a little bit, but they used that weird 2 quarterback system. So no one else really.
Right.
No one else really made an impact this year. In the past, though, I would say yes, Oregon definitely has struggled with containing mobile quarterbacks.
We'll see how it all plays out. It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. But Liberty definitely has a lot more to play for than Oregon does.
It's true. It's true. They're playing for a ton of pride.
So the chaos became Saturday night when Alabama beat Georgia 27-24
Right.
and started this whole thing. Alabama, in my opinion, has been the best SEC team since week 3 or 4 or whatever it was when they lost their one game to Texas.
Yeah.
And they figured out how to play again, how to play offense and defense.
Right.
Jalen Milroe just needed time at quarterback to become a good quarterback. And he hadn't had that
Seems
yet.
that way, yeah.
Yeah, it seems that way. Georgia has lost, 1 or 2 games in the last 3 years?
Yeah, not much.
And they're not going to be in the playoff, which is weird to me. How the number 1 team in the country loses 1 game and they're not in, but there's 2 other 1-loss teams in ahead of them. All right. And one of them beat them. I get it. Okay. Alabama beat them. We'll talk about it more at the end of the thing. But Alabama's your SEC champion. Kind of what I saw coming. I kind of figured Alabama was the better team. Georgia has been kind of not dominant like they had been the past 2 years. But they looked like they were getting better. I thought they were going to be better than that. But anyway, did you watch that game?
Yeah, start to finish.
Yeah, it was a good football game to watch.
It was all right. The problem is everyone romanticizes SEC football in that it's the best brand of football. And when I watch it, I'm not always as impressed with it as I should be. I mean, this wasn't exactly, it was a good game. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely a good game. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was exciting, but it never, like most SEC games, it never really felt like it was going to really come down to the wire.
Right.
Like Alabama felt in control of that game. Even when they didn't have the lead, they still felt like they were in control of that game. Well, I don't know. It just,
yeah.
I didn't watch it and go, ooh, this was amazing. This was an instant classic.
No,
I
wasn't.
didn't feel that way at all.
No.
Oregon, Washington was an instant classic.
Yeah. It was better. It wasn't necessarily
because you had
either.
one team jump out and set an expectation. They're going to win this game.
Yeah.
Then you had the other team come roaring back and take the lead from them.
True.
And change the whole narrative. And then they got that pick. And it's like, oh my gosh, Oregon's going to roll through this now.
Yeah.
And then they turned it right back over, and then your expectations get blown, and then it's just back and forth for the rest of the game.
And then scoring
and that's
late,
what made it exciting.
Scoring late to make it close to even give them a chance. That was a big touchdown. Yeah. Anyway, so Alabama wins. They're the SEC champion. So we didn't know what was going to happen at that point, but we knew that it was going to be tough on the College Football Playoff Committee. But you knew that Michigan crushed Iowa. Iowa's offense is terrible. I thought Iowa's defense played great. They did. They just you're on the field the whole game. It's really hard, right? Against a team with Blake Corum, and it just I don't even know how to describe it. I think if Michigan wasn't cheating, maybe they're not as good. I don't know, but I don't know if that's a thing either. But I'm just saying. I mean, the penalty is we're going to suspend your coach for 3 games. Oh, is that a penalty? I mean, does that hurt your team at all? Not having the head coach? I don't feel like it does. I don't feel like the head coach is on the sideline calling every play.
But what is your solution?
No,
who do you punish?
I don't know.
Because if you don't have a better solution, then that's really the only thing you can do is blame the one person. So the only thing to do is remove them from the sport.
So here's what's going to happen is the NCAA hasn't concluded their investigation, right? This was just the Big Ten that suspended him earlier. The NCAA hasn't concluded their investigation. They're going to do that, and it's going to be after the season. And now
I'm dying to know what happened with their resolution.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh was suing the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, well, we can come to an agreement here.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean? What is happening? Can we just freaking get Jim Harbaugh out of football, please?
Can we get some transparency? That would be
Jesus Christ. I mean, just get him out of football.
Yeah, clearly, because he gets a scandal every year, maybe 2.
Every year.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just cheeseburgers, right?
If this was Minnesota, that team gets a bowl ban. If this is Illinois, that team gets a bowl ban. But because it's Michigan, because it draws eyes, it only becomes more transparent than ever. The one thing you can guarantee is that they will make a decision that's in the best interest of finances.
It's true.
That is the only thing, and that is the unfortunate part about college football. But college football has been making those decisions for 30 years.
It's a business.
And now players are making those decisions.
Yeah.
And now it's all chaos. Now there's just money everywhere.
Chaos. You're right. You're not wrong.
Chaos.
And we're going to talk a brief bit in a minute about another decision the NCAA is making about the portal. The portal? No, the NIL. Oof.
NIL.
Yeah, we're talking about that. Texas is back? Question mark. Texas beat
TBD.
Texas beat Oklahoma State 49-21 to finish 12-1, win the Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma State is, let's be honest, Oklahoma State only fell a couple of notches, even though they got really hammered in this one. And they're still like 20th or 21st or something. I don't know. They're still in the rankings, which at 9-4, really? I feel like they shouldn't be there, but that's okay. So Texas beat a very overmatched Oklahoma State team. And I would have loved to have seen a Texas-Oklahoma game, a rematch. I really would have. But we didn't get that. So what we got was Oklahoma State. So anyway, this game, Texas kind of sealed a spot because of everyone in the world has said that their win over Alabama is a big deal in week 3 or week 2. And I'm thinking, nah, was it?
It's a big road win, yeah. I mean, how many people have done it in the last 15 years?
It's a bit. This is not, but the Alabama team now is not the same team that was.
I know, but
there.
it's historically a
It
hard
is.
place to get a win.
You're not wrong.
Transcending 40, 50 different teams. So beyond all of those teams, it's a hard place just to get a win. Number 2, Nick Saban's their head coach. He's a hard coach to get a win against, period.
I would say that had any of the top 5 teams or so played at Alabama in week 2 or 3, they would have beat Alabama at Alabama.
Maybe, possibly.
Yeah, there would have been a bunch of teams that could have beat, because Alabama was not very good in the first 2 or 3 games. They had not found themselves. At the end of the season now, I wouldn't want to play Alabama. It is not good news for number 1 Michigan.
Right.
We'll talk about that in a minute. So I feel like Texas's win is a big deal. So what happened was that set up us watching Florida State and Louisville, right?
Yeah.
And Florida State finished with a ACC Conference Championship. They won the championship game 16-6 over Louisville with a third-string quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? And their defense looked great. I mean, they didn't allow Louisville to do anything. So they finished the season unbeaten, right? And then what we got was the playoff rankings came out, right, on Sunday.
Right.
And they looked like this. So Michigan won. Okay, we're all in agreement, right? They were 2. Georgia lost. They should be number 1. Washington was 3. Georgia lost. They should be 2. They're both unbeaten, right?
Sure.
Then the argument starts at 3. Texas at 12-1 won their conference. They beat Alabama, right? But their conference isn't very good. Their quality win is Alabama. They lost to Oklahoma, right? Who's where now on this chart? 12. Right? That's their loss. It's pretty bad. Alabama's lone loss is to number 3. So Alabama, to me, has a better resume with a win over number 1 and a loss to number 3 than Texas. However, head-to-head, right?
Right.
So they lost the head-to-head game. Okay, but Alabama's resume better than Texas, in my opinion. Which brings us to Florida State at 5. Florida State got the snub, right? They're not going to the playoff. Right. They won their conference. They're 13-0. My question to the college football playoff committee, and I have multiple ones, but my one big one is this. If Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, any of those teams, would they have won their conference championship game with their third-string quarterback?
I don't know.
Probably not.
That's too tough to say. Well, because Michigan played Iowa, who can't score.
That's true. But
so
Michigan was in a different position.
They might still have been just fine.
Sure.
Texas played Oklahoma State, who's dynamic offensively but terrible defensively. So I think they might have been fine.
Do you think Washington would have beat Oregon with a third-string quarterback?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No. You think Alabama would have beat Georgia with a third-string quarterback?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So my question is this.
But hold no.
Hold no, wait, no.
But your argument there, would 6 beat 4? Would 3 have beaten, or say Oregon, Washington, would 3 have beaten 5? Or would 4 have beaten 1? Or like,
sure.
Let's compare this more dynamically, right? Like, what was Louisville ranked going into this game? 14. Okay, so you're asking, could the 5th best team in the country beat the 14th best team in the country with their third stringer?
They did.
That's a different ask than could Washington at 3 beat Oregon at 5?
Well,
Very, very different teams.
And I
you
get
know
that.
There's a massive drop off between team 1 through 8, 1 through 9, and everyone else.
Right. So the and you're right. My issue becomes, why did you not? And what I was told was, what the answer was from here. Let's talk about Buke, Oregon. Let's listen to this. So, talking to Reese Davis on the selection show, Buke, Oregon, who's the head of the playoff committee, right, was explaining why their selection. I'm going to play this audio. You ready?
It came down to Alabama and Florida State. Why did you choose Alabama?
Well, I think in looking at it, and again, that was the decision, was Alabama at 4. Florida State is a different team than they were through the first 11 weeks. Coach Norvell, their players, their fans, an incredible season. But as you look at who they are as a team right now, without Jordan Travis, without the offensive dynamic that he brings to it, they are a different team. And the committee voted Alabama 4 and Florida State 5.
So that was the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're telling me is that because they don't have Jordan Travis, this is the reason. Why did you not vote them down the chart earlier when Jordan Travis got hurt?
Yeah, why did you not do it last week?
Right. You had every opportunity to move them down to a spot where you thought was
because they were playing an SEC team, so we had to kind of keep the high rankings that way we could continue to put it on TV.
It was a garbage call, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
My thing is it makes some sense, but this is the problem with a 4-team playoff.
Well,
all right, it will continue to be the problem with a 12-team playoff, but when you're arguing teams' second and third loss down the stretch, that's a much easier conversation, I think, to have.
Absolutely.
But when you're arguing a 1-loss team versus a no-loss team, it's very, very difficult. But I do think Texas would beat Florida State. I think Alabama would beat Florida State. I think without Jordan Travis, without doubt.
Yep.
So Michigan, Washington, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, maybe even Missouri. I think Penn State, probably Ole Miss. I think all of these teams would beat Florida State right now.
Maybe.
I think all of them would on neutral sites. And I'm not talking about neutral site Citrus Bowl. I'm talking about a neutral site. Let's call it Arlington.
Well, Georgia's got a chance to, so we'll see.
Yeah, Georgia's going to crush them.
Yeah. Here's my problem. You didn't give Florida State a chance to prove you wrong. You're not giving them an opportunity to be in the playoff.
That's the problem with 4.
So here's my thing. There's five Power 5 conferences, right?
Yes.
3 of them had undefeated teams.
Right.
Why are they not all in, and then we fight over who's 4th? I'm okay with you fighting over who's 4th.
That all of them are created equal.
The problem was they didn't want to put the SEC out. That was the problem.
Well, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's without a doubt. Yeah. And then you couldn't put Alabama in and not put Texas in, who beat Alabama.
Right. That's the problem. You had to put Alabama ahead of Georgia.
Right.
And you have to put Texas ahead of Alabama. And since you didn't want the SEC to be left out, you couldn't put Florida State at 4 or 3.
It's a terrible scenario, but I'll tell you what, the games we are going to get of Michigan, Alabama, and Washington, Texas are going to be better to watch.
That's part of the deal. That's part of the business part of it.
That's the other part of it, yeah.
Because
some of the deserving versus the best games.
The average semifinal game so far since in the history of the playoff has been 40-21. The games have not been that close in the semifinals. So this is why they didn't want Florida State to get blown out in a semifinal, and they might have, but they might not have. We don't know. What we're saying is we entrusted this committee who doesn't reveal how they voted, who doesn't show anything, but they tell us these are the best teams.
Yeah.
How is that?
And again, they couldn't get away with it last year because it's the last year of 4.
Well, I know.
You don't have to explain this for very long because in a couple of weeks, Florida State's going to have a chance to prove
it wouldn't matter
how good they were against Georgia.
No, nobody cares about that game, and no one's going to play in that game.
Oh, that game is going to be one of the most watched football games of bowl season to start.
I would be
now. I don't think it's going to end that way because I think Georgia's going to stomp them.
I would be surprised.
I think that game's going to have more eyes on it than Washington, Texas to start the game.
I would be surprised if anybody played more than 8 starters on either side of the ball.
What?
Yeah. So Florida State, Georgia, what do they got to play for? There's no national championship. What are the seniors?
Oh, gotcha.
Nobody's going to start more than 8 starters.
Okay, so it's balanced.
Well, kind of. I mean, I don't know.
If they get 8, we get 8. It's fine. That's That's
Yeah,
a different
I
argument.
don't-
Do you want to sit when you don't know if they're
But
going to sit?
what I'm
Nobody from
saying is,
Georgia
you-
or Florida State has announced they're sitting yet, so you have nothing to go on there.
But you made it sound like Florida State has a chance to prove it against Georgia. Okay,
Well,
maybe,
what I'm saying is
but
to
maybe
Florida
not.
State fans,
It won't matter.
you
It
want
won't matter.
to you want to be bitter, you want to be resentful, come out, put 40 on Georgia, put them in their place, continue to hold up that middle finger to the SEC through next year and into next year's playoffs. This is your chance to do it, or don't, which is most likely what's going to happen.
The ACC conference had a winning record against the SEC this year, and Florida State was the champion of that conference. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
I get it, and this is the feather on top, right?
I guess it's not though, because if you're not playing for a championship, you're not playing. Nobody cares. No one cares about these games. No one.
At least you're finally thinking like the athletes.
No one cares. It doesn't matter. What I'm getting at is you could just get rid of all the other bowl games because no one cares about those. I mean, aside from like Liberty is like playing in a bowl game, they're excited. I get it. There's teams like that who are out there that are playing in a bowl game that wouldn't normally get a chance to play in a New Year's Day bowl game, whatever. Those are, that's great. The rest of these teams, 14, 15, 16, it's just a chance for some seniors to get injured before they go into the draft. That's all. And they're not going to play. They don't care. I mean, you've made it irrelevant by having a college football playoff of top 4. You've made the rest of these games irrelevant. They don't care. No one cares about them. The players don't even care about them.
Yeah, that's why this should have gone to 12 or 8 to start. It should never have been 4. 4 is far too subjective. You take your 5 power conference champions and 3 at-larges.
Right.
That's it. Right? That's 8. That's how it should have started. When they started with 4, kind of a slow ease into a playoff format, why are we slow easing into it? Because moments like this have happened. Not quite. This is the most egregious one, but the reason why they're getting away with this one is because it doesn't matter. Because next year it goes to 12. Yeah. Everyone's going to forget this in a month and a half.
Sure.
You're already saying this game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. So you're already saying that. And because of that, that is the consistent narrative around it and why it fades into obscurity if you're not in the top 4. But that's also the problem with it. These games do matter to some people, to some teams. This game definitely doesn't matter to Georgia. It's below their expectations.
Sure. This
game matters to Florida because it's revenge now.
Florida State? It might.
Florida State, yeah. That's their motivation now.
But
prove somebody wrong.
Oh, so I'm just saying this is where Alabama comes in when Alabama said, the reason we got blown out by USC 55 to whatever is because we didn't care. It wasn't the national championship game.
Right.
Yeah, that's just how it works. I mean, it's just that's a thing. You're playing in a second tier bowl game because it's not the national championship, so no one cares. What I'm saying is, if you had 12 right now, and the college football playoff has 12, right? So let's take the top 12. Oklahoma, Florida State is game 1. Ole Miss, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State rematch.
Well, but it's not your top 12.
But I'm saying
necessarily, right? Is that how it's going to be next year? I don't think it's your top 12.
Well,
I think it's your conference champions, and then there's 7 at-large picks.
Well, that's true, but how would you? I mean, your conference champions would include Florida State, right?
Well, in this case, they would include Florida State, but they wouldn't necessarily give you Oklahoma. Is what I mean.
Oh well, I'm just saying Oklahoma's the runner-up, basically the best record. But if you took the top 12, that's what you'd have: Missouri, Oregon, and you'd have winners. Oklahoma, Florida State winner. Right? Plays Alabama.
Okay, so this says the 6 highest ranked conference champions will make the field.
Hold on. Whoa.
Yep, this is what it says.
6 highest ranked conference champions will make the field, not be top 6.
We'll make the field. Then the 6 highest ranked remaining teams will round out. So in this case, I don't know what the other conference that they're talking about there is.
Oklahoma would have dropped out and Liberty would be put in.
Yeah. So that's why I said, I don't know necessarily if all these teams will quite make it, but it's very close. And the top 4 teams will get a bye.
Okay. Right. That's what I'm saying. So then you'd have Liberty at Florida State.
Yeah, you'd have Liberty at Florida State, yeah.
Ole Miss, Georgia, who've already played, or I don't know if they already played.
I don't think they played this year, no.
Penn State, Ohio State did play.
Yeah.
And then Missouri, Oregon.
Yeah.
So you'd have
it's going to be great.
It will be great. That will be great. This year, it's not right. Florida State should be in there. That's just my opinion. I understand the argument. What you're saying is not you're saying, but what they're saying is that they're not the same football team, and we think they're going to lose handily. Okay, great. Give them a chance to prove it. They won every game on their schedule. They can't control this year what their schedule is. That was 6 years ago when they made that, right? So you can't to suggest that The scheduling could have been different. It can't. They can't control that. They beat every team on their schedule. They won their conference championship game. The only thing that happened to them was they had an injury to their starting quarterback, and you're penalizing for that.
Massive injury, yeah.
That's just ridiculous. I get it, but Alabama could have beat Texas and eliminated any doubt. Texas could have beat Oklahoma and eliminated any doubt. Florida State couldn't have beat anybody else. They beat everybody they were supposed to.
I understand. But the problem is I don't come from the Dominic Toretto school of winning's winning, right? It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. How you win is important, right? And that's like right now there's this narrative going around with Washington fans that we beat you twice. We're clearly better. It's like, our 3-point wins, none of them at Oregon each time. Like, that's not exactly true. No, yeah, it is. Well, because to them, winning is winning.
Right.
It's not clean, though. Florida State, over the last handful of games, last 2 games, have looked remarkably worse. Lucky for them, they played an extremely inferior Florida team. And then they played a Louisville team whose chances of making the playoffs, because that's where their hopes were 2 weeks ago, were gone.
Right.
So they might have played a dejected Louisville team. Now, you still play the people you're given. You don't have too much of a choice in that.
Right.
But they looked remarkably worse. Remarkably worse. And Alabama looked remarkably better than they did to start the season. Those two teams, whether a win's involved or not, because, I mean, Florida State could have just as easily lost that 2-point game to Boston College earlier this year or something like that. And Alabama could have lost another one earlier. It all could have happened. So I think I don't believe wins are simple. Wins are not clean. They never are. But by that same token, you've set a precedent in every year prior that undefeated teams get in.
Get it? Yeah.
Especially when they're conference champions.
And there's only 3 of them.
But this year, that precedent would have conflicted with either
with the business,
with the SEC.
Yeah, with the business of winning, right?
With
the business of
with
making money.
With the SEC is what
Yeah.
it would have conflicted with,
Well,
because Alabama would have been the team out.
Alabama and Georgia. Yeah,
It's true, and you weren't going to have that. We weren't going to play that game.
Nope.
We got one more year of this 4-game crap left. Let's just get through it. Let's deal with the internet slander. Let's deal with the random podcasts.
We're going to
chiming in about us, and then we'll move on.
We're going to value conference champions. No, we're not. Clearly not. I mean,
just this one time though.
Just this, conference champion that's unbeaten. No, we're not.
But I will say, in the history of watching this sport with the playoff, so in the however many years it's been going on, I have not seen a team lose their starting quarterback.
You're right.
Weeks before the playoff, and then proceed to become a kind of a shell offensively
they usually lose
of
football
themselves.
Games. They usually lose football games and they're out. But
True.
they haven't lost any of those games.
Again, lucky for them, they played a garbage Florida team and Louisville.
Okay.
So Louisville's a good team, but I mean, no one's over here confusing Louisville with being a great team.
I don't know.
So,
I mean, yeah, you're right. But
I agree that Florida State should be in, but I also think that Alabama should be in. Two things can be true at once. And unfortunately, there's not enough room for it, so you got to make a business decision at some point, and that's exactly what they did.
Here's my question, right? If Georgia beat Alabama, Georgia's 1,
Michigan's 2,
Michigan's 2, Washington's 3. Would they have put Texas in ahead of Florida State?
No. Florida State would have gotten it.
Then it's garbage. The whole thing is garbage.
I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you can keep Alabama out, then you can devalue Texas.
So what you're saying?
So
is
you're saying Texas's wins worse because now they've only beat a 2-loss Alabama team.
Right.
We'll put you over there.
Right.
Let's get all undefeated teams in here, with the exception of, So it's tough.
And I'll be honest with you, I would tell you if I had to rank the top 4 right now, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and Georgia. I wouldn't put Alabama in. I'll be honest with you. I know they beat them in the conference championship. I get it. Do it again. Do it again. And I'll believe you. But until you do it again, I don't believe you.
So the problem is there's two charts here.
Yeah.
If you want me to pick the 4 best teams in the country, Florida State is not in there.
They're
As a
not
matter of
in
fact, Texas is not in there. It's probably Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Georgia in no specific order.
Yep.
If you want me to pick the 4 most deserving teams, it's Michigan, Washington, Florida State, and then probably whoever the SEC champion is.
Maybe. I don't know that Alabama's better than Georgia because they didn't exactly crush them.
Well, that's why I said whoever the SEC champion is, because it's kind of a toss-up. They both got 1 loss.
Right.
Like neither of them was quote a home, or Alabama had a home loss. That's a little worse. But
the problem is you went head-to-head with Texas, Alabama. Now you got to go head-to-head with Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah.
Right. So Georgia has to be behind Alabama. So anyway, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I think it's terrible. I think it's a bad system. Yeah, and I get it. Yeah, you don't have to explain it for very long because next year there'll be 12, but
Yeah.
it's just
short-lived.
It just smells bad.
It does. It
And
does.
It shouldn't smell bad. There's no reason to not put the 3 unbeaten teams in and then fight over number 4. There's no reason for that.
Completely agree.
Right.
It's when you made a 4, this was always going to happen. Every year there's an argument about why this team didn't get in. Actually, I think maybe 2 years it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
But for the majority, every year there's been an argument about why them, not them. Why them, not them. Well, just freaking make it 8 or 12 and eliminate this why not them.
Yeah,
because then I'm not as comfortable arguing Oklahoma versus LSU, which one
13.
gets in.
Right.
Like, they're both garbage. Like, they both lost 2 or 3 games. Like,
well, yeah, and LSU lost 3. So.
LSU lost 3. So, like, that's why I think that when you have the 8 or 12, the deserving teams will get in.
Maybe.
And then you can have a debate about the best matchups at the end.
So the fight, but see, here's the thing: is you're still going to have that fight over who's 4 or 5 because the 4 gets a bye, the 5 has to play, and that's what you're going to argue about. Oh, the SEC team should get a bye. Oh, okay.
I'm still curious. They haven't announced yet, but I'm curious if they're going to do like home games. Like,
I hope so.
if the 1 through 4, will they get a home game after their bye?
What I would imagine is the first round games would be at the
5
location.
through 12.
Yeah, it would be the home team would be the lower
higher seed.
Right, but then you go to bowl games for the next games. That's what I'm imagining.
We'll find out next year.
Yeah,
they haven't announced much. So.
Yeah, it's true. There's more to follow, but everything's going to change next year. So you're going to have 2 conferences, and then you're going to have the ACC, the Big 12, and the Pac-2.
I saw a picture earlier that said it listed teams 1 through 12.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, 1 through 12, and it listed their conference and said if this was 2024, and it was like SEC, Big 10, Big 10, Big 10, SEC, Big 10, SEC, Big 10,
yeah,
Big 10.
All they are. Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Next year.
So
the Heisman finalists have been named: Bo Nix from Oregon, Michael Penix from Washington, Jaden Daniels from LSU, and Marvin Harrison from Ohio State. My guess is this is the first time in Heisman history that there's been 2 guys with an X in their name as Heisman finalists.
Ooh.
It has to be true. It has to be true. Right?
That's such a LeBron stat.
It has to be. I mean, that's how deep we go here. But I don't recall ever being another guy with an X in their name, but there's 2 this year. So the odds-on favorite is Jaden Daniels right now. His numbers are what his numbers are, but it is the 9-3 LSU team that lost to Florida State.
Right.
Who you didn't include in the college football playoff. If you had to give the Heisman out this week, who would it be? You got to vote. Who would you vote for?
I would want to give it to Bo, of course, but if I'm trying to be impartial, having close to 4,000 passing yards and like 1,100 rushing yards in a season, or 1,500 rushing yards, whatever. I think he had 1,500 because I think it was 3,000 and 1,500. Jaden Daniels has done some remarkable work. He's had to. Don't get me wrong. He's played more quarters. He's done more work. He's had to be more impactful. Bo Nix hasn't had to be impactful in as many games, and yet still has massive numbers. But it was kind of impressive to watch. I've watched Jaden Daniels make some incredible throws and some funky drives and things like that, and kind of overcome a little bit of play calling and stuff. So that's tough. So I'd probably give it to Jaden Daniels. That's who I think they're going to give it to.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. He has 1,100 yards rushing, 3,800 yards passing.
That's 1,100. So he's the first one with 3,000 and 1,000.
Yeah, 40 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. But they lost the opening game to Florida State.
Yep.
They lost it at Ole Miss.
Yep.
In a 55-49, that was one of the best football games of the year.
It was one of the best football games of the year, yep.
They lost at Alabama 42-28, and by that time Alabama had figured it out. His numbers are inflated somewhat, in my opinion. He threw 5 touchdowns against Grambling.
Right.
He threw 6 touchdowns against Georgia State. There's 11 of his 40. Okay? So, okay. I mean, let's be honest. He threw 3 against Army. So there's 3 games where you playing teams. The best team of those is a 5-6 FBS school.
Yeah. There's definitely a bit of a letdown in that.
There's some padding going on, is what I'm saying.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So 413 yards against Georgia State, 269 yards against Grambling, 270 yards. I mean, it is what it is. He's not bad. He's a good quarterback. He's done well. It just seems to me that maybe his numbers in quality games aren't as good. Against Alabama, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 219 yards. Against Missouri, 259 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Against Mississippi, he had 4 touchdowns, right? No interceptions, right. 414 yards. He played a great game. Like I said, that was a great football game. And
that's why it was a good game.
It was a good football game. Against Florida State, 22 of 37, 59%, his lowest completion percentage of the season, first game. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had a couple of games where you go, those weren't great games. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't. His numbers are great, but I feel like he padded them in 3 or 4 games to be better. He had some of those kind of games. So I don't know. If I had to vote right now, I would give it to Marvin Harrison. I'll be honest. But
I don't understand why you're not voting for Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin has the same number of touchdowns, more receiving yards, and less receptions.
He does. You're not wrong.
And he's not invited to anything.
Marvin
Harrison got invited to there because his daddy's big time.
Right. Well, that's true.
And Ohio State is big time.
Well, but I'll be honest.
And he's the only receiving threat on that team. Think about that. Troy Franklin has the yards and touchdowns he has being part of a bigger system that got the ball spread out much more.
That's just why I would vote for Marvin Harrison over him, because there are other receivers who take the pressure off Troy Franklin. Marvin Harrison has nobody to take the pressure off. I don't know if I agree
with that statement. What I'm saying is they pretty much only threw it to Marvin Harrison.
So that's what I'm getting at. You know where it's going.
Energy to get those numbers up. But I mean, there's 2 ways to think about that. One is, well, then you see where it's going. The other one is, well, it's going to go there, you know, 10 times a game.
So stop it.
Whereas it's only going to go to Trey Franklin 6.
Yeah, Troy Franklin had 1,300 yards, 81 catches, 1,300 yards, 8 and 14.
Well, actually, he might have had more receptions then.
He might have.
Yeah.
Well, let's find out, because I can do that, right?
Probably.
Let me pull up Marvin.
Yeah,
Harrison.
Troy Franklin had 81 receptions. Marvin Harrison had 67.
Yeah, right.
So 14 more receptions for 100 and something more yards, 172 more yards.
It's true, right?
So on the flip side, though, you got Malik Neighbors up at the top,
and same number of touchdowns.
Yeah, with the same number of touchdowns.
Yeah,
and
I don't know,
and only 5 on. But he has an extra 200 yards, or 100 and something yards, 140 yards, but on 5 more receptions.
Right. So
I think Rome Odunze is the.
He's really good.
I think he's the best budget in there, best value.
Yeah, he without a doubt. You didn't have to pay much to get him.
But the fact of the matter is that Troy Franklin has more yardage than Marvin Harrison. If you want to talk about who's got the most receptions on the season, that'd be that dude from Florida Atlantic. Or the guy from Virginia. So, and he's tied. The only category he's tied for in first is receiving touchdowns, and he's tied with Troy Franklin and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, he's not in first. He's tied for second behind Brian Thomas Jr., the other LSU player with 1,000 yards. LSU has 2,000-yard receivers.
I don't know.
And 29 touchdowns between them.
I feel like there's something to be said for, hey, this is our number 1 wide receiver, and we're not going to try and throw it to anybody else. Try and stop us.
Oregon had 2,000-yard receivers.
Yeah, Tez Johnson got 1,000 yards.
I didn't know he got 1,000 yards out of it.
Yeah, there were 2 of them. That's the first time Oregon's ever had that, which is amazing. I mean, it is 1,000-yard rusher, 2,000-yard receivers.
Yeah,
and Bo Nix throws for 4,100 yards, 77.2, finishes just under the record for completion percentage in a season.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But 40 touchdowns is the same as Jaden Daniels?
Is it the same?
40 and
Sounds
4.
all right.
40 and 3. I'm just saying, only sacked 5 times, Bo Nix. So
really?
Yeah, 5 times all season he was sacked. I think Jaden Daniels is a little higher. I think he had 3 sacks in the first game against Florida State. So
yeah, the second best receiver on. I mean, I will say this: they spread the ball quite a bit at Ohio State. Like, it's not crazy spread out, but they also didn't throw the ball that much.
right,
They had quarterback issues.
right.
Maybe if they don't have quarterback issues, maybe Marvin Harrison's stats look higher.
Jaden Daniels threw 4 touchdowns, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yep.
Bo Nix threw 40 touchdowns. And I think
3
5?
interceptions.
3?
3. Because he had 2 going into the playoff game and threw another one.
I could be right. Let me look.
I pulled up his stats a few minutes ago.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there's that. So he has a higher completion percentage.
Yeah.
He has more passing yards.
Yep.
And even if you take away the conference championship game, he still has more passing yards.
Right.
39.06. So even though he played one more game, you would have to take away 3 touchdown passes. So he would only have 37 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions all season. I don't see how you don't give it to Bo Nix. I really don't. The numbers, I get it. The 1,100 yards rushing, is that what you're going to base it on? Well, it's a different offense, right? It's a different play calling system. It's different.
I think you also have to think that Bo Nix is the most efficient quarterback in college football history.
Sure.
Like, that's an insane thing. The most efficient ever of all quarterbacks to ever play the game. There have been some really good ones. Like, that's a hard stat to break. Like, you can get a lot of rushing yards, you can get a lot of receiving yards, but to do it efficiently for a whole season, whew.
Bo Nix was sacked 5 times, and Jaden Daniels was sacked 22 times.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, so 4 times in the first game of the season against Florida State. 4 times. He had 5 sacks in the first 2 games. Bo Nix had 5 sacks all year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can say what you want. Oh, well, it's a screen pass. It's a quick release. It's a whatever. Okay, get it. But he's accurate. He throws the passes. I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. So
74.5 completion percentage versus top 25 teams.
I can't imagine, other than the rushing yards, why you'd give it to him.
It just jumps off and the same reasons why they put Alabama in a playoff. Because the SEC looks good. Right. But Jaden didn't against tougher competition. Is the argument people will make. It's not true. It's not actually true.
He played 4 ranked teams.
Yeah.
He lost to 3 of them.
Yeah, I know. But those are SEC defenses he was putting up 49 points against.
Florida State wasn't, though.
I know.
I know. I hear you.
Can you just get on ESPN's side for a minute?
No, I'm not.
Because they're gonna make the decision regardless of what you think.
So listen, I'm not on the side of Kirk Herbstreit lobbing questions to SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey like, who are the best 4 teams versus the most deserving, right? Who should be in the college football playoff? I'm not about that. This is what they do. And then of course today, when the Heisman finalists have been announced, yesterday?
Yeah.
Or the day before. But
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. So now, we're going to put out a giant spread about Jaden Daniels because let's be honest, ESPN owns the SEC network. Yeah, they own the SEC. This is what they do.
We all agree.
And the reason why Alabama's in there is because ESPN said it would be bad for us if you didn't have an SEC team in there.
Yeah, and that's why I told you if Georgia won, then Florida State would get it. If Georgia lost, then
it's garbage. It's all garbage.
They're going to get kept out.
So anyway, there you go. That's about all I have. You got anything else? You got anything you want to talk about?
I got nothing. We got to do the trivia question.
We got to do the trivia question. Let's go back to the Stave and Stone trivia question. Do you remember what the question was?
There are 5 major awards, and only one person's won all 5.
Only one guy's won all 5 in the same season. There's been another person that won all 5, but not in the same season.
Gosh dang it! I had my notes
here. So I've got 2 guys.
Okay,
funny. You ready for this one? You ready for this interesting stat about that?
Yeah.
Both guys are from the same school. So the person that won all 5 without being consecutive seasons, and the guy who won all 5 in one season, or without being the same season, and the guy who won all 5 in the same season.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know there was 2 parts. I thought it was just who's the person who won all 5 in the same season.
That's all I asked.
Oh, okay.
What I was telling you what I said was, I want to know who won all 5 in the same season. What I said was, then I added that, hey, there's been another guy who won all 5.
Who won all 5? Yeah, gotcha.
But not in the same season.
Well, the problem was we lured it down to the mid-90s.
We did.
And I'm stuck because there's a couple guys in here that I don't know. Like, I know... going backwards, I wrote down the whole 2000s, and I went Chris Winkie was FSU 2000. Yeah. I don't know who 99 was. Ricky Williams was Texas in 98.
Mm-hmm. Can't win. He's not a quarterback.
Right. Chuck Woodson doesn't count. Werfel was Florida in 96. Mm-hmm. Eddie George, Ohio
Can't
State
win.
95. I know. And then there's 3 people that I don't know
Okay.
before you get to Desmond
You talking about
and Detmer.
you talking about Charlie Ward and Gino Toretta?
Is that who is
93,
in that
92
space there?
in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie Ward, was he the guy who played basketball?
Yeah.
He's like he didn't play football after college, right?
No, he played NBA basketball
Hmm.
for the New York Knicks, I think, at one point. Anyway.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, that's the period I don't know. So
Okay.
those are the guys. So I'm gonna go with Werfel
Danny
from Florida.
Werfel is the correct answer. Danny Werfel,
Is it?
1996. He won all 5 awards, which is apparently extremely hard to do. The only other person that's won all 5 but didn't do it in consecutive year or didn't do it in the same year was Tim Tebow.
Oh, that's that would have been. Oh, so it's 2 Florida quarterbacks. Nice.
Right? Yeah. Right. Weird, right? For the
I would
most
have
part,
actually, I would have actually thought that Ward guy would have been, because I remember, if I remember right, like the things I've seen on him, he was a hell of an athlete.
he was a hell of an athlete. He was a great quarterback too, but it was. And it's funny because there was one Florida State guy, a couple of Florida guys, there was a couple of Miami guys that won the Heisman and a bunch of awards. So a lot of it happens in Miami or in Florida, right? Those
Right.
schools produced a lot of that. Marcus Mariota won 4 of the 5 awards, right? When he was a senior or junior, because he didn't play a senior year, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it was interesting to read all those things and see who won what. And it's funny because you got, the best player in college football, the Player of the Year award, the National Quarterback Award, right? The Golden Arm Award, which has to be a quarterback, and then the Heisman Trophy. Oh, the Heisman Trophy is the one that kills me. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
Well, the Maxwell it's not just, it's like on off field type thing, right?
Right. It's just it could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a quarterback.
No. But the Maxwell Award is not necessarily a performance-based award.
Well,
it is a combination of on-field, off-the-field.
So the Maxwell Award literally says, and I read this,
Best player in college football.
Yeah, it just says best player in college football, is what it says, and I'm like, okay. So, yeah, it's interesting. And then the Heisman. It's funny. Do you read the Heisman Trophy requirements? Well, the who they're giving it to. Annually awarded to the outstanding college football player in the United States whose performance epitomizes great ability combined with diligence, perseverance, and hard work.
Okay.
All right. What does that mean?
It means a lot.
I guess. I don't know. How do you determine all that? Hard work. Like they don't all work hard. But anyway, so there's that. Okay. Yeah, so that's the I didn't bring up the pictures. I was going to show you. There you go. There's your Danny Werfel large shoulder pad picture.
Nice.
Right? Because and there he is playing for the Saints with large shoulder pads.
Tell you what, like it was a business, but it wasn't quite a business yet.
Yeah, it was close because here's Ramsey. You see the shoulder pads are smaller, right? This
get
would have
a
been
little
later.
smaller.
Yeah, they get a little smaller. We made quarterback pads. Yeah, I had to play back in the day in high school in those same
ones,
gigantic pads.
Yep.
At wide receiver, it's really hard to get your hands up in the air and catch a thing when when the pads are that big. Anyway, interesting.
Large shoulder pad era.
It's fun. It was a lot of fun. All right, that's all we have for today. Got anything else for me? No, we didn't have anything else.
Nothing.
All right. So I'll have to turn on the music. We want to thank ESPN, CBS, NBC, ABC Sports, Fox Sports for their help and the footage and the recordings. Also, the Heisman Trust, the Maxwell Award Foundation, the Walter Camp Foundation, the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award people, and the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback Award people. But anyway, we'll be back next week. We're going to talk about, Army-Navy's this week, by the way. You watch an Army-Navy game on Saturday?
No. Oh, not even.
All right, perfect. One of them's going to make a bowl game. Army-Navy games this week on Saturday at noon on CBS if you want to watch it. Again, this has been a Brain Rock production of the division of Lonely Tree Media. We want to thank you for listening, and we'll talk more college football and NFL next week and whatever else we can find. So thanks for listening. We'll see you then.